Hello everyone, and welcome to the third webinar in the series on how can you handle difficult emotions. We have spoken about two emotions already, which is guilt and confusion. And today we would like to share and discuss about how each of us understands and processes grief. So, when we talk of grief, uh, the first thing that comes to us is sadness, right? Or loss. Grief, if you take the dictionary meaning of it, is intense sorrow or intense sadness, which comes out of any loss or anything is which makes a person extremely sad. So, when we lose a loved one, we say that there is a process of grieving. So you grieve someone's loss. And like any other difficult emotion, grief also we have noticed is a combination of a lot of things. So when a person goes through the emotion of grief, uh, first thing most times is uh, they deny it, that something like this is happening actually in their life, you know, or they aren't able to process the extreme sadness. So it's like a state of shock or disbelief. And then there are shades of anger in grief. There are shades of guilt, that did I do something wrong because of which I'm going through uh, so much of sadness. There is a lot of victimhood at times, that life is so difficult for me and it's so beautiful out there for people, because grief is a difficult or a very challenging emotion to stay with. Uh, Many times we find it difficult to come out of that grief by ourselves. We want someone to just hold space or allow us to rant or talk, or because there's so much of mental chatter, there's so much of confusion at times, and there's no clarity. And it is a very deep emotion to process. That said, I think we are not given anything that we can't do. So humans have the ability to overcome grief. And when I say overcome, is go through the process of grief and not deny it. So it is possible, because grief, if not processed at the time that has to be processed, can show up later in many other ways. Um, so when I say many other ways, it can either show up in the body, or it can show up in the surroundings, or it gets difficult for us to hold space for a person who is grieving, because we ourselves do not know how to, allow a person to grieve. So, and it is extremely, like, I feel that grief is an emotion which makes a person extremely vulnerable, and the person may feel that they are very weak, like I can't do anything, or I'm just an open book and so vulnerable that anyone can come and do anything. So they are scared at that point in time, extremely wounded. So that kind of vulnerability is something that we aren't taught to hold space for ourselves, or it is not okay to be so vulnerable or weak, is what we are taught. That said, grief is true. Grief happens to everyone at some point of time in life. There could be grief because of a failure. There could be, as I said, a loss of a person, or some situation, or an accident, or a physical health issue, which is very, very real. Yeah. So, is there anything that you would like to talk about?
I think as you said that, mm, grief is something which makes us vulnerable. somebody's crying because they are, you know, grieving over any failure or loss, the the first instinct of people around them is to comfort them, make them stop crying, make them feel so deeply sad. So, usually, what happens is, even as a child, when the child is, sad, not actually in grief, but sad, and child is crying, the first instinct is to make the child calm, either by distracting or just telling that stop crying, don't cry. So I remember a few months back, I met my old friends and I suddenly started crying because I moved to this new city, and you know, meeting them after a while made me feel the whatever, maybe the loneliness or whatever. And I was allowing myself, and a friend came and said, "Oh, you are so strong. How can you cry?" So that is how we handle it most of the times, right? So grieving is seen as a sign of weakness, sign of vulnerability. So, how to process grief then? So, I believe we first of all need to understand what kind of support during grieving is healthy and what is not healthy, so that we know that when we are grieving, how to allow the healthy support, when to ask for it, and when to take the space that is necessary, and what is it which is unhealthy support, and how to stay away from. So, if somebody comes and tells you that, you know, uh, you should stop crying, or they are feeling worried for you that you're grieving so long and you're not coming out of it. So now you feel, oh, they are concerned for me, so I should come out. So that is not a healthy support. I'm not saying the intention is not good. The intention is good, but that is not what is required in that if you agree, right? If somebody comes and tries to tell you that you are you are strong and you can do that, and in a way forces you to come out of it before you are ready, then that is also not a healthy support. So if somebody tries to do that to you, I think you need to find a way to communicate that you need this time, you need some space. Their intention is right, you understand it, but this is not what is right now necessary, and requesting some space. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think it's good. Good.
Okay. Then what is the healthy support? So the healthy support is, you know, you must have seen sometimes that you meet a friend and you start ranting about something. You just want to talk it out, and they are very patient listener. They do not jump to the conclusion. They do not jump to giving you a solution or advising you without you specifically asking for it. Yeah. And some people even go one step further and ask, when you start telling them, ranting or whatever, do you just want space, or you want to discuss this and find a solution? So I know where I have to sit, where I have to listen to you from. So if somebody does that, then you know that it is a healthy space, because when you are grieving, there are phases, right? There are phases like you may not want to talk to anybody at all. Then there may come a phase where you want to just talk it out and you don't know. So in the flow, you might say so many things that you didn't even think in your head, and you need a space for that. Sometimes you want to distract yourself. You know that you are grieving, but right now you don't. It's like you have been crying and crying and crying, and now you're tired. So you know my grieving is not over yet, but you know what? I'm physically tired. So maybe I just want a break. One evening, I just want to break, go out and do something better, something light-hearted, and then maybe I'll come back. So you may need different things through the process till you know that you have grieved enough and you have processed your grief the way you want. You might want to sleep, might want to distract yourself, you might just want to talk about it, whatever. And if you find anybody around you in your life who can give you the space to do this, then you know that it is a healthy support because they are allowing you to process your emotion, your grief. They are not trying to suppress it for you, they are not trying to distract you out of it. They are just holding this space without any particular direction. Because for everybody, these phases are different at different points. If nobody else is there around you who understands this, then first of all, you will have to accept that, okay, in my environment, today, nobody is there who understands this need of mine. So I will have to create it for my own self. Yeah. And that's how you allow, if somebody tries to give you that unhealthy support, take it, but do not allow it to influence you. Yeah. Keep it with the goodwill that they are saying all of that or doing that for you, but don't take it until you are. So you need to start holding space for yourself if nobody else is there. And then maybe eventually you will be able to create a space with someone else so that they are there for you during the processing of grief. One more thing that we have observed is, you know, you experienced a loss or a failure or whatever was the reason, but you experienced the grief because of that somewhere in the past. And at that time, whatever kind of awareness you had with that, you managed to come out of it. And today, if you allow yourself to go back and feel the grief, you might be scared that why to open it? Because I know it was so difficult for me to come out of it, right? So even if it is scary to open that book, you need to acknowledge your fear, allow the fear also, and at your own pace, either taking healthy support or finding the courage in yourself, you need to reopen it and feel the emotion. Because if you do not feel the grief, it will start showing up in your body. If you control your body with your mind, it will start showing up in your behavior in the form of reactions, or it will show up in different situations which will trigger the reaction, but behind that is the hurt or the grief. Yeah. So if we do not feel it, we are just mm, we are just accumulating it. And today it is this small, tomorrow it will be this big. And it will be more scale, I believe. And on the other hand, I understand the fear is real. That what if I again go through all of that? That's why you need to seek healthy support. And I think in such places, you can apply different ways to process the grief for yourself. One one way is going through a therapeutic help and processing it proactively. But if you want to do it all by yourself, then there are many other ways. Would you like to share them?
I think basically any emotion that we talk about, there are The methods are the same. It's just that your commitment to do it is what matters. So breath work is one. You can feel the grief in any part of the body. Place your hands on the body and breathe and allow your body to process it. You might feel sad, or there might be anger, or there might be palpitations or fear. But just allow whatever is coming and go along with it. The second thing that you all can do is follow the EFT by Brad Yates. There are videos on how to process grief and sorrow. So that is one healthy support. And one thing when you're processing grief is it's very important to seek healthy support, is because it is an emotion which can make you slip into sadness again. It is a very sticky emotion, and that can be a challenging place. Like it might take you back to if you faced depression or any phase of extreme sadness, it might take you there. So it is healthy to take support. And if you do not find support in a person, then it is okay to do as much in a day. Like do one round of EFT and just stay with it for that incident. Then keep doing it for 21 days. So practice. It's like if you have 100 sacks of grief to process, process 2 per day or 3 per day, based on how strong you feel that day. So the intention is not to just finish it off, but to accept that you are human and it is there. So this is one of the human emotions to, which is a little, I might say, comparatively challenging to process, because as Gayatri rightly said, sometimes the person in front of you may know the grief, but may not know the depth of how impactful it is for you. So if they are not able to hold patience, then you need to be patient with yourself. If they are not able to be kind, then you need to be kind to yourself. So, and it is real. It is very, very human. And it is just a human emotion. It is just a state of, mind or a phase of life. And that too will pass. But it has to pass. It not just be put under the carpet. Yeah. And if you feel that you don't feel enough, uh, strong to process it. Another thing that could happen, which is coming to me now, is sometimes logically we do tell ourselves that, you know what, I should be grieving this. No? This is a loss. But the body is not showing anything. Like there are no thoughts or there are no emotions when you think about that particular incident. And you're like, I feel it is complete. But I think what I miss saying is sometimes in grief, the first state is that of shock. So if the body has gotten into shock for that particular incident, then it is like a numbing situation. So if you feel that, no, I feel that it is not processed, when you keep doing your breath work, when you keep doing your EFT, there will be a time when that frozen state will break and that actual emotion will start surfacing. So maybe 2 days, 3 days, just keep doing it, and your body will know, you will know that is it complete or am I numb to it. So that will help. Because numbing or freezing is one of the ways to cope with extreme emotions, whether it's fear or confusion. We spoke about it, numbing. So even grief, sometimes we go numb, especially when we grieve the death of someone. There's so much to do, right? Like practically, there's so much to handle that sometimes people just numb themselves and say, no, now is not the time to process all of this. I will see it some other day. And that some other day never comes. So it's important to identify for yourselves and for your lives.
When we say that you you should process your grief, why we are saying that is because in the moment of the grief or any painful emotion and experience, we lose some resource of our own, some part of our energy. So when we process this emotion and we are finally ready to come out of it, accept what happened as it is, as part of our journey or life, that's when we can go back to that moment and we can find out what we lost there. It might be sometimes joy, self expression, confidence, or trust. I've seen, some people when they experience loss, they are so angry with God or they are so angry with destiny that maybe they lose all their faith in the process of life. So it might have impacted you at a very, very deep level because you lost that internal resource. So once you allow yourself to feel and process this emotion, you will reach the point where you'll ask, what I lost there, and I want it back. And once you know that you have got it back through releasing grief, that's when you know that it is complete. And it's okay to take your time to grieve, and it's okay to, go back in bits and pieces. All of that is fine because it is your own journey. It's nobody else's choice for your life. The the intention is, if you are suppressing any part of your grief or any emotion, you should be aware of it. If I'm at least aware that, I am sad today, but as of now, I'm not ready to look at it. Or I am scared about something and I don't know what to do about it. But at least I'm aware. So maybe if not today, tomorrow I'll sit and I'll ask somebody else or I'll ask myself a different question, which will help me to find a way out. So awareness itself is a very big and very effective step. So after this, I think what we want you to do is sit with yourself, and if you find any of your past experiences where you experienced grief, but either you didn't allow or life didn't allow you to sit and process, get in touch with that moment and find your own way, either through journaling or breath work or EFT or talking to somebody, talking to a therapist or a friend, and making the the taking the first step. What you need? Do you need to talk to somebody, or you need to just sit and first gather yourself? What all the things happen there? Mind also has a way to cope up with such things that it suppresses the memory at all. So you may not remember all of it now. So one step at a time, getting in touch with that. And maybe next 1 week, you can start processing whatever amount of grief you get in touch with. And through any of these processes, start experiencing or feeling it and releasing it at your own pace. So that's what we have to share. Are we good?
Yeah.
So I'll stop the recording and we can open the topic for discussion.